Hello, everybody, and welcome to the ARMS 2019 Retrospective. I am Maliv, one of the many people who are a part of the ARMS community. I've streamed for the scene since its inception, first when it first released in, what was it, 2018, 2017? It's been a while. But yeah, last year I had a retrospective where we looked back at the previous year, documented, discussed some of the things that happened then, and I figured it would make sense and be a wise thing to do one for this year. Just a heads up for anybody who is in chat right now, I will not be reading comments. There will be some matches going on the stream after I finish this brief startup. If you want to join that, if you're already a friend, just hop in. There is no code limit of 3 people because I'm in there too. So rotation might be needed to be done, but stuff. Anyways, that all said and done, let's head into the ARMS 2019 Retrospective. So, the year was... A lot happened this year. I know a lot of people who might look at things and be like, oh, not much really happened. It was a year. It just kind of rolled with only like one notable thing happening. Not really, no. It's a lot happened over the year. Like, a whole lot. First thing that did kind of technically happened, it more happened at the earlier section of, or it happened at the end of 2018, but it's more of a thing that kind of goes just along. I just figured I'd add it into this, especially since I think it was a little too late for me to note it last time. But we did have Riptide, the ARMS community / team organized and ran by the Era Wolf, who owns Network Era. She was a primary... Her and Hama created this team to help try to encourage more ARMS activity, interaction, and a lot more goings-ons in the scene. Riptide is currently one of the few teams that are still around to this day, many of which slowly deteriorated and fell apart from one thing or another, especially during this year. One big notable one being, of course, TCM, or Team Color Crash. Or no, Team Chroma. That's it. But TCM was one of the longest standing teams or crews in the ARMS community and lasted longer than pretty much any other one. But they ended up moving on, closing their doors this year. So, as it currently stands, beyond stuff like big teams like IlluZion and Detonators, which we'll be getting to at the end of this all, Team Chroma was the longest standing, and now that place probably goes to Riptide ARMS. They're slowly growing still. Over the year, there weren't too many big notable things that happened, but they did a lot of things. They ran a couple of events. They had participation in a handful of offlines and many onlines, and are continued to be seen to this day. Early into 2019, though, we did have our final Mega League Monday, which kind of sets the tone for what has been happening with the ARMS scene as a whole this year. With the end of Mega League Monday, that was the primary go-to place for most players in the online community beyond stuff like casual ARMS. And so a lot of the online scene began to dwindle. Scrimps had important other things that he had to tend to in his life and thus moved over to focus on those, moving to a new place and trying to take care of a lot of his own life. You can still see some of the previous matches on his YouTube channel for Scrimps. But yeah, for the most part, 62 was the last Mega League Monday. And since that one, we have yet to have another one, which means that it has officially been over 1 year since we've had a Mega League Monday. That said, just like if I'm making a Phoenix pun here. Like when the Phoenix dies in the ashes, new Phoenix comes up again. And with that, we have a new series that I started to organize to try to fill up the empty void that Mega League Monday created, with Scripps having to move on. And I began organizing a series known as the Scrapstar series, which was focused a little more on competitive ARMS competition, a little bit more direct competitive gameplay, where before it was a round robin to a single elimination. These were just a flat double elimination. There was stage striking, and it was even divided up to EU and NA regions. The Scrapstar series continues since its inception. Originally it was actually a Mega Boot League Monday, but unfortunately, whenever I ran it, it never got nearly the same amount of momentum or support that Scrimps did. So eventually, just due to frustration, I ended up moving on to a new project, which was this. Heading into this year, we are now approaching our 51st NA Scrapstar, and I believe the 47th EU Scrapstar. So there are many more to come, many more to be seen, and here's hoping that we might get to see some exciting things in the future. With that, we can head over and look at Casual Arms, where I wouldn't necessarily say there's anything too strong to note, except the simple little detail that Casual Arms consistently was strong. So during the entire 2019 year, Casual Arms has continued to be and has quickly become like a little bit more of a center point for the ARMS community than what ARMS Central used to be for the scene, with a lot of players kind of going there for the regular events, participating, supporting the Patreon that they have, and thus leading into prize pools, a couple more events, and the Casual ARMS scene just continuing to grow. Just as time progressed, they got better, got more support, led into more things, and it just generally climbed from there. There was also a couple of offline scenes did grow during this time. One of the ones to note would be the Alberta ARMS community, which was created and organized by me. And it was a scene specifically focused on Alberta, which is the province that I live in, where we had a monthly series, or was aimed to be a monthly series, known as Chance of Flurries, which hosted Smash Brothers, Guilty Gear, ARMS, and a couple of other side games, and primarily being Melee from time to time. Though Melee became a pretty big mainstay in the scene. There weren't too many other developments in terms of offline locals. I know Texas has their scene, and that's continued to do fairly well. As it stands, I believe that is the most well-survived offline scene. But we'll get to that at the end of the year. The earlier portions of the scene also brought about the Heart of Battle tournament, which was ARMS' first offline event, what was considered a major offline event in the ARMS scene and community. Various faces showed up, there was a lot of competition, and in the end, we had Astroninja taking first place, which one of the first tournaments. Did he win any others before? I feel like he might have. I do believe that this is the first one. I can easily be corrected, and I'll just point this more as a notable result for Astroninja, claiming a first place in Heart of Battle and demonstrating his talent and skill as an ARMS player. There is also something to note during the time of... I should have had back button. Oh well, it's too late. But something I should note about Heart of Battle, in which case it was the fact that, oh yeah, I could just do this. So we're just gonna bring it down. Oh, and then it reverses like that. Resets it. We just go through them. Alright, so something pretty big happened during this time. And this is a note on something that's kind of been a problem, an ongoing thing with the ARMS community for quite some time. This was another case, another outburst of ARMS drama. In this specific scenario, it was a buildup between the certain individuals in the California scene against certain individuals in the St. Louis scene. There was some pretty rough trash talk and generally viewed as rude behavior that certain individuals took, and it reflected poorly on various individuals from the Californian scene who did not really appreciate the way that this individual acted, as well as the St. Louis scene generally not being very happy with the way that those individuals did too, which resulted in a few arguments. A lot of tension rose, and you'll notice that, I'll note here that this isn't the first time that there has been large amounts of conflict amongst the ARMS scene, but it's definitely not the last. This is while this is called the Heart of Battle, you could humorously call it the Heart of Battle and the ARMS drama that has been going on, as this is probably the midpoint where the tension is starting to climb to relatively high levels. It's not peaked yet, and it's definitely not at its lowest or most calm point, but ever since the beginning of the ARMS scene, well, shortly afterwards, when there was really starting to get pushed to get the ARMS community and scene to become a thing, of course, there started to be conflict as well. And we saw a lot of that kind of slowly build and set itself up for this occasion. Certain individuals that were known for being some of the more problematic or argumentative individuals were the ones that kind of caused this conflict. Players that were generally seen as a little more hot-headed, a little more arrogant, so on and so forth. So, kind of set a sour taste for a lot of the ARMS players in the ARMS scene, and continue to increase the levels of tension that were kind of already present and just solidifying them further. As the year progresses, though, there becomes more efforts to get the ARMS scene to develop and grow, as especially with Mega League Monday dwindling and getting less support, or Scrapstar series not getting much support, and there just being a little bit more of a void in things. An individual who goes by the tag Paul S. Lax creates the Save ARMS campaign. Now, this is a pretty long-running thing that he has carried through a solid chunk of the year, starting around here to midway through the summer. And basically, he just starts making push to get support from the scene. He plays a little bit mysteriously, making big calls about a special return of an individual, and turns out that it's Paul Slacks. He's a wonderful person, very fantastic, has put a lot of effort into supporting the scene ever since the start, and continues to do his best to do so. And yeah, this is about when he first started making a lot of his more serious efforts. Ran a small tournament series that had a lot of hype cool moments. Definitely it was very fun. I don't think I participated in it too much personally, but overall the general consensus was that it was a good and well-run event. Heading a little bit later into the year, we've got what is probably the last crew to be created, or community, for the ARMS scene, and that would be Polaris. Polaris being their own little focused group with the goal of trying to help support and build newer players in the ARMS community to help catch them up to the level of some of the more higher leveled. I know there has been some conflict, some issues with this team, this crew, a lot of it generally comes from the fact that at this time there was already a lot of frustration and tension going about the scene, and I don't recall the exact details of how the scene or that crew really came to fruition, but I know it left a bad taste in a couple of people's mouths. These days, they're generally a little more of a pocket community in the scene. Overall, still a good one that if you're looking for arms, you're looking for more ways to interact with the scene, they generally have their own niche pocket that they enjoy taking care of and playing and enjoying this game with each other. We're probably going to... You don't see... I personally haven't seen too much going on from their end of the neck of the woods, though they do have their crew, and they continue to show up to events, and we'll probably see more of them. Hopefully more, and chances are it'll probably be some pretty good stuff. Heading deeper into the year, we also have to note that this is about the time where the EU ARMS scene really starts to push to make itself a little bit more competitive, to try to draw that attention onto itself, to encourage more growth, and help the scene kind of just keep more consistent attention. As the EU scene generally is much smaller than the ANA scene, they had to kind of quickly start diving in and making more serious efforts to getting their scene support and growth than the NA did. Or the Japan especially. And one of those efforts were to run this PR system, which, as you can see, has a nice detailed graphic showcasing some of the placements of players in the overall results. Certain events that were a part of this were the EU Scrapstar series, that which I run, and their bi-weekly event, the European ARMS Challenge, which is also where you can find most of the EU ARMS community these days. They continue to still run these events. That link will be to an old one, but they usually keep things updated. If you just follow them on Challenge, follow them on Twitter, just keep an eye out for them. You'll probably see a new event. If you're an EU player looking to play more ARMS, there's probably a good place to go. Let's see. This, of course, did cause a response from the NA scene, which resulted in the ARMS NA Online. Now, the ARMS NA Online kind of played out relatively similarly to the EU PR, where the scene was starting to settle down a little bit more, and this was an effort to try to get the online, especially since as time was progressing, it was becoming rarer and rarer to find offline ARMS events. So the NA ARMS Online was meant to kind of counterbalance that and create a little bit more of an even ground, a little bit more interaction on the online scene so that players do have something a little more consistent to work with and interact with each other. I'll also note at this point that the EU scene has had exceptionally few tournaments, none of which I'm too well aware of, and generally I don't have any notes of. I would have to have done a little bit more research. Unfortunately, I did not do that research, and I apologize for that. But generally, the EU scene had very little competition going on. So, for the most part, their only option was online, and they had to do the very best they could with that to try to build as much support and keep their momentum going. The NA Online series, you could be able to gain points through various tournaments, such as the Scrapstar series again. As well, there was also events ran by and organized by Network Air, such as Champions of the Era. And the other follow-up of hers, Temple Tantrum, which was a response to some of the criticism that the ARMS community had towards Champions of the Era and its stage list, which brought her to make Temple Tantrum, which is more backroom-oriented, is very similar to the Scrapstar series. And it was meant to do pretty much exactly what the Scrapstar series was doing, with being a more competitive, focused online event, looking for more support, and just to continue developing the scene over a long period of time. And then last but not least, we have the Ohio ARMS community, which currently organizes the event known as the bi-weekly procrastination, which for individuals who may not be aware, is a tournament series that they run that like every once in a while. I think, yeah, bi-weekly. They do it every other week, and these tournaments are week long. Now, how that works is it is double elimination or round robin depending on how things are going, but players, or during that week, players are communicating with each other and making plans for when they run their matches. They enter the score, and just like, it's not consistently on one day. It's just over the course of the week, these players are doing their matches. So it's a good way to gain PR points, build up some recognition or more chances to play, while being in a little more of a comfortable position without... That's a lot more flexible and easier for a lot of players who are looking to try to be a part of the competitive ARMS scene without maybe having the time to be able to just consistently go in and participate in all the events in these very restrictive and rigid time frames. Heading on from that, we do have Smash and Splash, which came about as the midpoint of the year. The Smash and Splash generally has been seen as, at least since last year, or the year before that, ARMS was a port of Smash and Splash 4 and this current Smash and Splash 5, and it's to be decided whether it's on the 6th, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Smash and Splash 5 was a very exciting, it had a lot of support from the ARMS scene, but by the end of the day, there's a lot of stuff that happened with the Smash and Splash. Most of it not directly related to the ARMS scene, but there were individuals, a specific Smash player, who ended up coming across some conflict with the organizer, and due to generally bad behavior or poor response from the organizer, it caused a huge backlash and a lot of rebuttal from the general ARMS community, or the general Smash community, against this event, which also, as the dominoes slowly fell into place, revealed other issues going on with the Smash scene, at least in this specific area, where it came out that it wasn't really effectively supporting a lot of those individuals. Money wasn't coming out properly, staff weren't getting paid properly, or were just generally mistreated, along with photographers. And as it currently stands, SNS has a lot of backlash, and there's a lot of caution on how SNS 6 is going to turn out, with the vast majority, if I'm not mistaken, all of the Smash organizers resigning from their roles for this event and are currently looking at other opportunities and are moving on to other prospects, while I'm guessing SNS 6 is probably going to have one last hurrah for this year. There's rumors that they were planning on taking a break after this year anyways, so they're probably going to need it to try to figure out what's going on, or if there is even going to be a SNS 7. Time will tell on that. For the ARMS scene specifically, though, we do have the results, with Chateau taking first place in this Smash and Splash tournament, marking the second time in a row a player from Japan was the top performer for this event, with Smash and Splash 5 actually having top 3 all be the Japan players. ARMS or NA players did as much as they could. I believe there were some EU players too, but nobody could stand up to the Japan players. And while there were less of them this year, they were still just near... The ones that were here were just as indomitable, with Chateau just wiping the floor. Another thing to note that happened during the time of Smash and Splash, though not necessarily directly correlated to it, an individual who goes by the tag Malieve ended up getting recruited by IlluZion. Malieve is a pro player for ARMS and continues to play ARMS to this day competitively under this team. Malieve is also the last individual to be recruited under Team IlluZion. I don't know why Malieve is talking about herself in third person like this. Maybe she's hoping you don't notice that she's the one talking to you right now. I don't know. Overall, the IlluZion team was actually interested in Malieve for a while, or me for a while, if I'm not mistaken. Just due to various things, as well as me jumping between smaller groups. I wasn't necessarily looking to join them at the time, but after discussions at IlluZion and me being more ready to move on into something newer, fresher, and maybe a little more steady, I figured we came to an agreement, and I'm a part of IlluZion, and I will be continuing to play under their name for some time. With that, we're going to be moving into the main meat of a lot of what this retrospective is. And I know a lot of you are dreading it. It's Switchfest! So, heading into Switchfest, there were, noting again previous things that happened in Heart of Battle, tension was starting to build. Smash and Splash was a small celebration. It was a good place for people to kind of get their mind off things. But overall, it didn't really hold too long, especially with Switchfest and its compendium. This compendium being quite the huge deal for the competitive ARMS community. I'll try to explain it as best as I can without necessarily pointing out specific individuals who may be directly correlated or a part of some of these conflicts. So, pretty early into the summer years, or summer month, season, Switchfest was announced, and with it began a couple of rules for compendiums. The compendium being to try to support certain individuals in most of these games to get funding so that they could be able to make it and compete in the Switchfest tournament, which is, at least for ARMS, definitely was the biggest event in terms of money that ARMS could have. It had the most support, it was the biggest deal, so people took a big shine to it. When the compendium started, Smash.gg, or 2GG. I'm gonna get those mixed up. I do that a lot. I apologize. It is 2GG. They're a wonderful community group lead. They're good people. They do good stuff, and they support a lot of wonderful smaller communities with events like this. They started by asking people who they would like to see. And we saw many of the obvious players be brought up. I believe I was brought up in there. One player specifically was noted that was getting a lot of momentum and support in this early stage. This individual specifically was not, as the NA community saw it, a part of the ARMS scene though. They weren't necessarily aware of this person as they hadn't interacted with the scene too much. Though this was a person who did have interest in the game, had some connections to individuals in the scene, and honestly, from my experience, I would have considered them a member of the scene to some degree, but most people disagreed with that. And they started seeing this person get votes to show up on the final polling to get support. And caused a bit of concern. People started muttering about, talking about in the ARM Central Discord and various other areas. As time progressed, this person successfully gathered enough votes to be able to, or enough word on the street to get enough renown to show up on the compendium poll. This being a pretty important point, as if this person placed within, I believe it was the top 3 or 4, they would make it into the compendium for funding, to be eligible for funding to be able to make it to Switchfest and to compete. Now, this was treated as a huge problem from the ARMS community in general. They saw this player as a smasher, or a player from the Smash Brothers community, more than a player from the ARMS community, and made the assumption that this person was rallying their community to support them and bully a smaller scene to allow this person to come in, participate in ARMS, but not really, and then focus mostly on Smash. Now, I would note here that that was not the case, and this person was actually genuinely interested in going over for ARMS. While they are also interested in Smash Brothers, it would be like anybody else. Somebody who wants to come in, they're interested in supporting the scene, they have their other games that they're interested in playing in, so they would go in and they would have fun with all that. Once they started to go into the poll, they were also still getting a lot of votes and a lot of support from their community, or other portions of the ARMS community were interested in supporting them. So they ended up getting a lot of votes and making it pretty high up on the list, which ended up irking a lot of members of the ARMS community. These players started to rally together, and while they weren't necessarily too public with it, they were very loudly infuriated and frustrated, and started to get toxic. When they would be discussing this stuff, they would be discussing in a way that it was clearly not to find a solution, but more so to build hate and frustration towards this individual. With one note, or with one case me seeing, where somebody threatened to assault this individual if they did get funding to make it to Switch Fest. Fortunately, that did not happen, and the individual also quickly realized that that probably isn't the right way to go. But it was something that was said. Eventually, a lot of this discussion, a lot of this infuriation from these individuals start to leak out onto more public sites, Twitter being the predominant one, and people starting to DM this individual, letting them know that this is happening, which now immediately pulls them into the circle and causes them to be unaware of how much, make them feel like they are in danger, because this community has immediately turned against them and has basically gone to war with that region and that region's community. After a lot of discussion and sorting things out, the community is able to kind of not necessarily calm down, but I guess a compromise ends up getting settled out with this individual deciding they're not going to be competing or attending this Switch Fest, and 2GG also ends up making ARMS one of the events that has the largest amount of players on the compendium. Not as big as Smash Brothers, but there are ends up being a lot of ARMS players end up making it on the compendium as they try to sort out what's kind of going on there, how it's supposed to sort out the fact that they wanted to put this person on, but they didn't want to take away spots from what the from how the ARMS community felt that this individual would be stealing spots of the compendium slot. We do end up finally getting to Switch Fest, and I personally really enjoyed it. It was a really cool event. In the result, Astroninja was able to take first in his second event for the year, considering that there are only 3 events, like 3 solid-sized events to date. That 2 out of 3 ain't bad. It's pretty solid. I'm sure a lot of people would be very proud of those kinds of results. And he successfully takes first place, and moving on from there, we kind of start going into a bit of the recessional period of the ARMS scene. So from this point on, there's the tension kind of just peaked. A huge explosion happened, a lot of infighting amongst the ARMS community, with a lot of people getting furious and upset with some of these individuals. These individuals being upset with other parts of the ARMS community and just more in general. And it leads to a lot of people ending up stepping away from the scene. This is probably the biggest notable point where the community kind of cuts itself away from itself, with a lot of participants, a lot of notable players even, making the time around Switchfest the final time that they have interest in competitively playing ARMS, online or offline. And from there, things continue to kind of start steadily climbing at a little more faster pace. Things were already going down pretty noticeably quickly from the start of 2019, but after Switchfest, there was a huge spike downwards. And it just made the scene a lot more inactive and difficult to get support and events rolling on. That said, the ARMS community still is around, still events happening from time to time. It was a really, like, I'm sure I explained it well enough, but at the same time, like, I don't feel like I explained it well enough. It was a really bad time for the ARMS scene, and it caused a lot of people, myself included, to want to either leave the scene permanently or force some of us to just, like, cut ties with various sections and just back off. After that, though, a small victory that I'd like to note, during this time where there is that huge cutoff from the ARMS scene, I'll keep this off for a few moments because the next thing isn't coming up right away. The ARMS scene, for the first time in over a year, has a period of silence. Now, it's not necessarily the consistent for everybody, where some people they felt it was a lot more peaceful overall. But for individuals such as me, who are constantly like checking in on various pockets, paying attention to a lot of the concerns and thoughts that a lot of people have, I basically was dealing from around the Hyrule Saga time, maybe a little bit earlier, mixing in a bit of my own drama in there too, but most of it overall being ARMS drama. There was something happening every month. Be it me doing something really stupid at an event and causing a bit of an upset, be it the compendium, be it Heart of Battle, be it ARMS players' relationship blowing up and the scene having to confront that to some degree. There were constantly just little issues that kept happening. And a month or two after the compendium explosion, the ARMS scene had a little bit of peace. And things were much more relaxed. With that relaxation, we still have a little bit more to go for the scene as we move towards Slurpathon! A small victory for the ARMS scene during this year of constant drama, infighting, and general frustrations, as various sides are now finally starting to settle down. Things are finding their place. The community overall is starting to make more efforts to reconnect with each other. One such small example is the Scrapstar community starting to make better connections with the casual ARMS community. And while it's not as healthy as it may have been in the past, the two scenes are much more cooperative and supportive of each other than they once were. Closer to a lot of that time where there was all that conflict and drama. This also leads to Slurpathon, though, which is a charity speedrunning offline event that happened during the days of November 9th and 10th. ARMS was a game that was run during the event, with me being the runner and not really making any impressive times. But ARMS was an offline speedrunning event, a first for the game. Congratulations to ARMS. We also have one final hurrah for the ARMS scene, and what I would consider the final hurrah for this era of the ARMS scene as a whole, the Sphere generation, so on and so forth. Smash Out 2019. At this point, most of the community has kind of settled down. Most players who stepped away during the compendium drama haven't necessarily returned at this time, and I don't think most of them are going to return. Some individuals who left during that time are interested in stepping back in, and the community welcomes them in, and we'll be doing our best to just continue to help develop and grow the scene as things continue. But yes, overall, Smash Out was the final game of final tournament of 2019. Not noting, I believe it's called Ultimatum, that was run in Texas, though I don't know how much momentum, how much support, or how big of an event that was. So it's hard for me to really say what was going on there. I will give it an honorable mention, though, while we talk about Smash Out. Smash Out being a charity-run tournament that is run yearly in the St. Louis area, which has generally been seen as the largest ARMS community and scene. Organized and ran by Hanukkah Jamboree, one of my favorite friends, one of my best friends, and generally somebody who has carried a lot of the weight of the offline ARMS scene on his back, has put a lot of effort into supporting much of it. Something I should probably note about Switchfest before I completely forget again. Something that did come up during that time. A lot of fighting happened with the ARMS community, and various sections chose to cut themselves off from that scene, and as a result became very toxic towards the ARMS scene as a whole. And generally, these are people who usually, if you try talking to them about ARMS, are probably going to be also very toxic individuals now. So, Compendium kind of backlashed really hard and caused a lot of frustration and anger. And a lot of it that was kind of pent up, and just gave an avenue for everybody to let it out. Which, maybe not in a healthy way, but it was released. So Smash Out was a very exciting event. A lot of cool support and competition from various players. And to celebrate it, I won the tournament! This noting Malieve's first win in well over a year, and is the final major tournament for the ARMS offline scene. Again, noting Ultimatum, if I'm not mistaken, that's what it's called, happened. But beyond that, this was probably the last notable thing. And then the holiday seasons happened, and the end of the year comes to pass, and yeah, it's about where ARMS comes to an end. I don't really have any more graphics there, so we get back to Riptide them with a way. So overall, a lot happened in the year 2019. There's still a couple of things that are just kind of like random notes, but overall, it was 2019 kind of built up to be a high build-up of drama. A lot of the conflict that had happened in 2018 was still building up to 2019, and we saw that all surface or a small chunk of it surface with Heart of Battle, and then everything else showed up during the compendium with Switchfest. It was... I liked a lot of this game during that year. I had fun. Various things led to me actually having probably one of the better years of my life in the competitive ARMS scene and being a part of this community, despite all that has happened. But a lot of that is more because of personal affairs, things that I had going on that I was managing. If I were to... I'm not going to rate this year here, but generally it was a pretty rough one. Just going over some... One of the big things I want to note is that last year's retrospective, I made note of the fact that 2018 was the Fool's Gold, or the year before, and then that year, or like there was something going on there where it's like the Fool's Gold era or the Year of Noise or something like that, where it was just like all the build up and hype and so on and forth. And then during this year, I was looking at this, and then it was moving into the year of strife or drama or conflict or whatever you want to call it. If you want to be specific about things, that's kind of how it stuck. Like, that it's not necessarily wrong to go by all that, but I would more specifically note that it all probably more fits under one arch, which would be that I would believe we're coming to an end. We have either approached the end of the generation, or we are just at the tail end of this one and preparing to move on to the next generation or century or whatever you want to call it of the ARM scene age, if you will. So 2017 to we'll say Smash Out's probably the ending point, or the end of this 2019 was the ending point. So up from the release of ARMS to the end of last year was, I'm just gonna slate it as, what would I slate it as? I think I'm gonna stick with what I originally was confident with, and we're gonna call it the Fool's Gold era. The reason being is a lot of individuals would be led to believe that, and you could look at a lot of resources and information and you could easily be like, oh yeah, this is the golden age of ARMS. This is where all the biggest things, all the most hype, all the most excitement, look at all this big support. It's such a big game. But it had a couple of caveats to that as well, with the ARMS community not really knowing how to handle itself, not being constructed in a way or developed. A lot of the leaders, it was their first time leading a community, leading a scene. I've always had some manner of capabilities of being a leader, but at that time, I really wasn't trying to, I was avoiding at all costs trying to lead. And even then, I was very inexperienced along with various other members. So it ended up leading the scene into starting to bubble up a lot of toxicity, and there was a huge burst of energy, but there was nowhere to really properly sort or manage that energy. It all kind of happened right at the start, and then immediately was gone. There was a very quick just withdrawal of energy, and it turned into spite and frustrations from a lot of individuals. So you look at it at first and you're like, oh, it's the Gold Ages, it's the best, but it's a little more of a starter pack of where you can kind of see where it could become really good. But it's very clear that this attempt was not good. It didn't work out. It caused a lot of people to become more spiteful towards the scene, towards the community, towards the game than they really should be. And it's just left the ARMS scene in a pretty rough place. That said, I feel like it was important. While it's not necessarily good, the ARMS community, the ARMS scene needed this kind of thing to happen to point out that there are problems and that we need to learn how to work together as individuals. We need to learn how to respect each other. And we need to learn how to be able to manage issues or conflicts such as the compendium with respect and patience rather than the blind outright fury that the scene had before. And with that, I believe that is going to sum up the main covering points of 2019. I don't feel like I covered a lot of the key points, but I feel like I'm still missing a lot. A lot did happen over the course of the year, and it's hard to really stay in touch and be aware of everything that kind of happened. So I do apologize if anybody has additional things they'd like to note. Post them in the comment section during the stream, or if you're watching the vlog, post it in the comment section below, and know anything else interesting that you feel like might have happened. If I see it, I'll reply. With that, though, I'm going to be moving over to the next section of this, where we're going to be looking at my reaction, or my own thoughts, towards 2018. And we're going to specifically be looking at my predictions for how 2019 turned out. So, we're just going to... Where is... That's not the right one. I think that's the right one. No, that's not technically. I split text. Where is it? There it is. So we're just gonna mute that. You can kind of hear it in the background. They can all kind of play together still for a little bit. Let's see, how's that? I'm gonna turn it down a little bit on my TV. Also, just a reminder, while times might be tough, ARMS is still nice. ARMS is nice. Alright. Wait, hang on, let me... Do I have timestamps? Alright. Oh, 2019 predictions. Oh, wow, that was only like a half hour? Alright, let's see.
So, what does this mean for 2019? I would probably say 2019 is going to be the year of the local.
I forgot to mention, I think I did, pretty much all offline scenes at the end of this year have died. Chance of Flurries died due to various conflict. I don't think there's much going on over at St. Louis. The SoCal area doesn't really have any ARMS offline scene. I think Texas is the only area that really has ARMS going on offline right now. So, yeah, what we're doing here is we're going to look at some of my predictions and we're going to react. I'm just going to go in with the prediction, especially after going off of this. Fair warning, I'm probably really inaccurate with my thoughts. I'm very confident that I got, like, nothing right. Let's see how it goes. Also, same place. This will probably be the last year that I'm in here, though.
Things are gonna... This is the year where things are gonna kind of start changing.
Yeah, they changed, alright.
Like, huge players like Resolve.
Who?
Gore's a lot more quieter now.
Wait, what did I say?
A lot. Like, huge players like Resolve. Gore's a lot more quieter now. A lot of other players that come to mind, I'm not going to share their names. But a lot of players that either had huge controversies pop up during this time.
Oh, we're still talking about drama here, love.
Are just very vocally loud people that, while they were good for the scene in one way or another, might not be good for the scene in the long run. They're not as prominent of faces.
Yeah, they kind of just stopped being a thing really shortly after that, didn't they?
More of the scene. Scrimps is still around. Scrimps took a break for the last couple of months, but he's still around.
No, he's not.
Pineapple is definitely still around, but he's become very dormant.
He continued to be extremely dormant. He showed up
A
to
lot
Smash
of
and
new
Splash,
players
and he
might
lives in his
not
own bubble,
really
and he plays in a couple
know
of
who he is
procrastinations. He doesn't
beyond
really
just
do anything anymore.
talk from people.
He's
You'll see
enjoying
him
his
in
own life.
Events here and there, like Smash and Splash, he'll probably pop up.
Oh, I got... Yo! I called something! I said pineapple and Smash and Splash. He took second. We got it.
It's gonna... a lot of the new faces are...
Hang on, let me put my headphones on so I can listen to this better.
like Scrimps. I've definitely grown to be a decent face in the community. Dendy is definitely a face in the North community. And a lot of these people are generally people that are a little more not negative, we'll say. They're a little more open, they're a little more willing to explore, experiment. A lot of these people are just having fun with the game. Like, the tryhards have kind of left.
Did I call them tryhards? Oh gods. Ye of little faith. There's still many. There the people that would be considered tryhards. There's still definitely were a collection of them. And I mean, the base definition of what a tryhard is. God, this is a really negative view of things. Holy gods, I was a dick. Yeah, but we'll use the term here. Those tryhards, a lot of them did leave, but overall, dedicated players, people who are very passionate about the game, will continue to be a thing and will come back and they will continue to just like be there. Like, be it me, be it Askew, be it Resolve. There's going to be passionate players who have a lot of strong energy towards the game.
This is going to be a year where a lot of the more prominent players are jumps like me.
Haha.
I mean, as much as anybody would want to call me a chump or something like that.
Yeah, you're a chump.
Next year, Hanukkah's another big face. Like, he's definitely going to become even more prominent.
He didn't really... He kind of focused more on offline stuff, love. I'm sorry. He didn't... He showed up and competed in a couple of things, but for the most part, Hanukkah was just in his... He was a tournament organizer. He did a couple of cool matches, though.
We're going to see next year more teams.
Nope. We saw less. They all disappeared. We got... What was it? We got Polaris, and then in exchange, my crew I got rid of. Team Chroma disappeared. Riptide's still around. But yeah, any other team to note just stopped.
Teams are going to be a lot bigger of a thing.
I mean, IlluZion
had all of the crews set to destroy, and then detonators to a degree. Detonators is still around. They've got Chateau. They're going to probably stick around for a while still, at least in the Japan area.
More on that in a bit.
And Chateau might actually be dropping by for a couple more online events, which is pretty awesome. But it's got new teams. It's got Flourish. Flourish is going to start...
No, it's not.
Flourishing.
No, it won't.
This year. IlluZion has built a huge base for itself.
IlluZion got +1. It got me. You turned to IlluZion. You turned against your team, Leave. You're a traitor.
I'm hard pressed to say that based on the people who are in that group, that it would get floundered.
Oh, right. I forgot. I completely forgot, and I should note out here. Astro also got recruited into IlluZion this year, with me and him being the big two who actually got recruited into something. And yeah, so our IlluZion's kind of like a very stacked team. With 3 of the 4 tournaments being taken by somebody who, by the end of this year, was a part of IlluZion.
Like, right now, Illusion is definitely the new set to destroy. In terms of how the community is going to start seeing it. Like, they're cautious because it's set to destroy. They're cautious because of the crews.
I think the community just kind of moved on. They're like, yeah, it's Illusion.
The new... So, yeah, you get it.
I do, yes.
I don't need to say the word 6 more times. It's just going to be a word.
Please say it more. We still stutter a lot.
We're going to start seeing the few teams that are alive still. Milky Way has actually come back. Not the way you would expect.
Who?
Certain prominent players...
Oh, Milky Way! I forgot they exist! They don't exist anymore.
And it has been passed down to radio.
Milky Way turned into Riptide for the most part.
I'm not sure what's gonna happen there. I see
Milky Way died.
Milky Way becoming more of a community.
No.
I haven't even talked to any degree about Arms of the North, but that's because it was always a very quiet, introverted group. Like they got loud.
It's even more introverted.
Arms of the North got very loud about some of the things it did, but it was a very quiet, introverted community that liked to keep to itself.
And yeah, it did so, and now it's.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There isn't, but
that's what Arms of the North is. It's kind of turned into more of a community than like a crew of players trying to push things. Right now, I believe the only 3 that are like genuinely still trying to. Well, we have a few players, but like right now, yeah, I won't say much there. Not surprising, it's Smash.
Wait, I think
more of a community. A lot of people in Arms of the North are kind of looking more towards Smash right now.
Oh, I'm just talking about...
Not surprising, it's Smash.
Stuff like Cert wanting to move on. He plays Smash. He did end up moving over to Smash, by the way. So, if anybody's interested in... If anybody's a fan of Superior Fan, after Smash and Splash and various things and the Compendium drama, he kind of found himself a nice pocket in the Smash community over in Ontario, and he's been playing Ridley and kicking butt. He's actually won, I believe, a couple of his smaller local offlines, and is continuing to develop and grow. So, doing great, sir. Keep it up.
With those two, we've got TCM. I think TCM's going to actually, with how TCM's been going, how it's steadily been working on itself, how it's been progressing, TCM is going to become, like, I feel like this is the year TCM actually has, like, a chance to become an official team.
Nope.
And by that, I mean, like, if they keep pushing, if they keep chugging along, if they keep trying to do what they're trying to do.
Same webcam, by the way.
If they got a sponsor or two.
It's the exact same webcam.
Becoming a big deal. If Fleur starts to become a little more vocal about them being a thing.
I go on about them for a while, don't I?
They might start getting sponsors. They might start getting opinion with them.
What else? What else did you predict around Leaf?
The characters, like, yeah, let's go over to this next. Actually, where am I?
Don't worry about that. Work's not for another 3 hours. Don't worry about time.
Let's go over this. The more technical aspect of ARMS is going to become more prevalent. And
I'm gonna stop here and bring up the fact that while there was refinement that did happen, overall, no real new techs were found. There were a couple of things discovered for Dr. Coyle, none of which were really implemented or utilized effectively. Confirms are a little more efficient, but overall, I think the way that I'm talking about tech at this point, is not accurate. And it does not come to be.
We're going to see that in the way that certain characters are going to start climbing up the tier list or the meta.
Oh,
They're going to start to become more of a big deal than they might have once been. We're going to see more rush interactions. Like, the standard, my rush outweighs your rush, or I'm going to jump over your rush. That stuff is very well understood by a lot of the high-end community. And now we're seeing things like Askew being like, my rush is just inherently better than yours, because I get to kick down your attack, go for a grab, you respond with whatever little you can do.
Okay, so that is actually a good point. Rush interactions did develop. There's a lot more that goes into them beyond just simple confirms or creations of opportunities. A lot more back and forth, a lot more adjusting how you play around your opponent's rush and responding to it. Ninjara being Astro being a really good example with that, with a lot of how he plays with his shield and the way he moves with rush. He's probably the best example of how it's kind of developed. But even then, I don't think it develops as much as I was expecting it to.
But players will learn a way to kind of counteract that. We're going to start seeing more of that kind of stuff. You're going to see use rush, and not even start swinging. Like, you'll throw out your rush because you know your opponent's going to try to counterplay your rush. So
okay, that does happen a bit.
Fix your camera as they make their jump, and just as they activate rush, you're already targeting them again, and your rush hits them before they throw out their rush. We're going to see more of that stuff. We're going to see... I'm going to say, lower tier characters are going to become more prominent. Max Brass, Coil, Kid Cobra, they're all really good. But people are going to start understanding how to kind of counterplay them, and they're going to become less prominent.
No, Coil won 3 of the 4 tournaments. Mechanica was the only one that won a tournament, and that's because it's me. High tier character became more prominent. Lollipop. She's everywhere now.
A lot of things are going to change in the way that, like, while Mechanica was already a huge deal this year, probably a lot because of me, I will not lie. At least this time. Even though I did.
You can hear how little confidence I have saying this stuff. I have so little confidence, holy gods. Can't even compliment myself.
We're going to start seeing more of Master Mummy. We're going to start Lollipop has had some huge results because of Twin 5-0.
Okay, you're right on the Lollipop. Why did you say Master Mummy? I mean, yes, Dendy is great. Dendy is amazing. But... really? That was the best character you could pick. Springtron, I would have been like... I know I was really rooting for Springtron to become more meta. So I've been like, you're wrong, unfortunately, but it's a good guess. I picked Master Mummy.
Mechanica has had huge results because of me. We're starting to see the really masterful players of these second-rate characters. Mechanica, Master Mummy.
Master Mummy. Yeah. Keep saying Master Mummy.
You say a name for those 3, and we have very clearly definable people for that. Dendy.
He is great.
We have...
Merv.
Twin.
Twin isn't really around anymore, but we got lots of other Lolas.
Straightforward. Like, they're... You see these people. These players and their characters are going to become more prominent.
Well,
we
most
might
of us...
seeing more of those characters start to become more of a bigger deal.
Most of them pretty much stay in the exact same
place.
place.
That we're going to start seeing more of and we're already starting to see it with Mr. M. I would say that Gillyboat potentially has some ability too.
Mr. M?
Has to get things going.
Who's that?
Incredible.
Does anybody remember who Mr. M is? I don't know who that is. Matt didn't really. He stopped doing things. Gilly moved over to Lola, so you were right on that one. Lola became more prominent. It got Gilly.
Is going to become a lot more meta very soon.
He didn't, unfortunately. There it is. I was waiting for that.
I think one of the reasons why Springtron hasn't done so well as of late is because most of the strongest Springtron users didn't understand how to fully take advantage of EMP. And I kind of covered that a while ago with my discussion about using your EMP in a way that, or you selecting arms that allows you to get quite literally free EMPs.
Free EMP. Free real estate. It's free real estate. Brought to you by Malief.
Which, if you get a free EMP, you're immediately so much more advantage than more of an advantage. And all you need to land is a single popper, a single boomerang, a single parasol.
Bam! Parasol equal free real estate.
And you immediately are just...
You get free real estate.
Your opponent has to fight back so hard. Wind is just so much more effective on him. And we're starting to see some of...
Wow, I really get on how good Springtron is.
Soon they're gonna start realizing how...
I must have a thing for I must have a thing for Springtron if I've talked about him for this long.
Springtron, I will not be surprised in the slightest. Oh yeah, well, we're not even going to discuss all the reasons why Wind is good. It's
just let me know if you ship Malief and Springtron. Let me know.
Just Wind is good. It's probably the strongest element in this game. So yeah, we're going to start seeing more Springtron. Springtron, once players start to get the hang of Springtron and taking advantage of his abilities, it's kind of... They always went for the Toaster and Tribal, never the Boomerang. Yet the Boomerang was his strongest weapon.
Could you stop talking about Springtron? I get you have a thing for him.
Glove meta. There are things that can counter the glove meta. This year was understanding that the glove meta is a thing and that it sucks for a lot of people.
No, it doesn't. It's still good.
This year is going to be people learning how to fight back against gloves.
Not many people figure out that.
To have some really nice results with double whammer, or well, not double whammer, but with a single whammer.
Yeah, good.
If I used Whammer Nate for more of my fights and didn't go so experimental against Askew and Smash Out, he might have lost. There's a very good possibility he could have lost that match.
Good for you on thinking that. I'm just gonna apologize if anybody's waiting for the awkward air and just watching me play ARMS, or watching an younger me play ARMS. I'm sorry we're not watching that. I just don't feel like having empty space as she desperately looks for chat to say something.
We do have a couple of cool events coming up. The community's probably going to be pretty chill.
Yeah, it was a chill community. Community very chill, very relaxed. Nothing bad happened. No drama. It was a very chill community.
Like, January is going to be a very quiet month. February will have some light attention because of 2GG.
Maybe a little bit more than light attention.
March is probably going to be another pretty quiet month. NCR does happen, but due to things going on, we'll likely not have ARMS. April probably will also be pretty quiet. May, we'll see. June, Smash and Splash.
Am I just listing events now?
So a lot of like those events that we had last year in the Year of Noise are not around anymore. We don't have those big, flashy, fanciful events.
No, instead we have
We're
drama.
gonna start having more locals.
No, we're not.
People. Locals might start becoming a bit more of a thing. We are.
Nope. We're not even gonna listen to me talk about that.
Like, there's one.
It's not happening, love.
We're gonna start seeing a couple more of them.
We see the exact opposite of that, unfortunately.
I know are starting to pop up. I know Matt is looking into getting things rolling.
One can hope, but yeah.
I know I'm getting things going. I'm trying to get things going. I know something in Ontario is going on.
Ontario didn't have anything going on.
But it didn't really work out.
Oh! Hey! They tried to get an arm scene going? Huh, it's a shame that didn't work out. Could have saved us a lot of problems in the long run. Alberta's scene died. I'm gonna try bringing it back, but...
Possibility more will come from there.
How long?
We just need people to be like, hey, look at... We just need people to understand how to share this game with others in a way that allows people to be more interested in exploring it. Because the problem with the lines, challenges, going to...
I think it's about it.
On this weird game called ARMS. I'm gonna focus on Smash.
I'm gonna stop it here. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure anything to note was covered. Going in, it's just talking about myself. I mean, I have cool things happening, but that's not what this is about. Let's not focus on that. I can talk about how Celeste saved my life again another time. We don't need to do that at this exact moment. So, looking back at my predictions, I was actually more accurate than I thought on certain things. With that being, Lollapop. I think that was the main prediction I made that was, like, definitely accurate. Or I was like, Lollapop's going to become more prominent. Every other character I predicted was going to become more prominent didn't. But Lollapop did. She is very everywhere. Yeah, with that, let's see. What's the final thing that I need? Let's see. I'll finish this up, and then we'll go over to reading through. Alright, so we're going to be moving into the final stage of this, or the second last stage. We've got, well no, third last. There's still a few more stages, but we're close to getting through them all. Up next, we're actually a month into 2020. We've gone through a little bit of the ARMS scene, a couple of things have already happened, and we might as well bring them up and discuss them. So, at the start of 2020, ARMS goes on sale. Nothing too spectacular there. Some people start looking into this game because it's cheap, which benefits casual ARMS more than anywhere because it's a great place for a lot of those people to go. So overall, casual ARMS is growing, becomes a bit stronger. Sale doesn't draw too much attention, doesn't have a big rallying of support, but it's a cool thing. And shortly after that, this might be a little bit out of order. I feel like it's more out of order than it needs to be, but regardless, this is just the things that happened this month. We also had a YouTube streamer who goes by the tag Viantastic. That would be Viantastic. Shoutouts to them. Shoutouts to him for making a small push to try to get the ARMS scene to get support, get some love, get some development back into it, and to get things back rolling. Unfortunately, for him and his efforts, a lot of his push was very focused on his bubble. And as a result, it got his scene to be a little more aware of ARMS, but overall, the ARMS scene as a whole got little to no support from this. It didn't work out. I don't think it worked out the way he was hoping. I'm pretty sure he quickly realized that and set motions to move on to other things, which is unfortunate, but you get what you get. It was the effort was appreciated. It's just a shame it couldn't blow up as much as we were all hoping. But that's discussing a whole nother section of the ARMS community too. Going into the next thing that happens, Save Arms makes a big dramatic return with Paul Slacks organizing a Save Arms Nintendo Direct, which was pretty exciting, lots of fun, cool things, discussions and stuffs that has happened. And then also, just like last year, he is back with another series of ARMS events. He's also making a more concerted effort to try to get the ARMS scene to support and interact with itself, which has seen some positive results so far. I'm going to be cautious on it, as I know usually the scene does not stick and hold to a lot of these things. But I'll hope that things do work out a bit better. And then the last thing to note for this year that's happened so far, we had Evo Japan, and Chateau ended up taking second place. And with that placing, Detonators has decided to disband the ARMS division, as Chateau will be stepping away from that team, which would have meant that I believe Ku and Pega would have been the remaining members, but they weren't necessarily putting too much effort into the ARMS, competing in ARMS either. Ku was starting to get back into things, but he was still focused on school. Pega was smashing school, I believe. So Chateau was the last big one. And just as the scene has continued to start settling down and finding its place, in a more niche market, they've made the decision to step down. So as it stands, IlluZion is the only team in the ARMS scene. Which, granted, still, we've got a team that is much bigger than a lot of smaller niche competitive games. Go ARMS. ARMS, nice. And I believe that sums up the first month of 2020. From here, what's 2020 going to be like? What are we going to see from here? Honestly, despite couple of efforts at the start of this year to drum up attention and hype, I'm suspecting things are probably going to kind of stay where they are. We're not necessarily going to dip. There is going to be some rotation. We're probably going to get some new players, but for the most part, ARMS is ARMS here. We're not going to be growing. We won't be detracting too much. Most of the potential areas for the ARMS scene to detract anyways are all gone. If something dramatic happens during one of our big offline events, we might see an upsurge or an upticking of ARMS presence from that. But overall, I'm not expecting much from the scene. Things are probably going to stagnate for a while. The hype, the Fool's Gold era has come to an end, and now we're going to be falling into a little bit of what Melee was dealing with when Brawl first came out. Or when Smash Brothers, when Brawl came out for Melee, where it kind of fell into a dark age, and a very small niche pocket of the community kind of supported and interacted with itself. But for the most part, we're probably just going to be in our own bubble, and we're just going to chill. You love the game, you continue playing it. You continue supporting it as you want to, as you can. I'll continue streaming it as I want to, as I can. Don't expect anything special, though, because you're only going to set yourself for disappointment. We do have a couple of events surfacing, of course. Bringing back what I did last time, talking about all those events and predictions. An individual has plans currently organized for an event called Final Round 2020. There's arms will be in the bracket there. If you search that on smash.gg, you'll find the information. It is going to be on March 21st, so unlike the last 2 years, offline and NA is going to start pretty late. Around that time, actually, is that the same weekend that I'm making plans? That is. So I wouldn't be able to attend anyways. Haha! With that, the Alberta scene does have efforts currently going about to try to get arms rolling again here. More details to come on a future date, but as it stands, there's nothing I can seriously announce beyond arms offline event sometime in March. It'll be cool. Texas still has its things going on. Not sure about what's going on with the rest of the scene. I'm not sure about Smash and Splash. We might see... There's rumors about like a Riptide event, which is like Smash and Splash but by somebody else. Maybe ARMS will be there. And then, of course, I'm suspecting Smash Out 2020, but that's really it. Maybe one more offline event beyond all that, beyond like the regulars happening. I know I've heard rumors of somebody, Frosty, making plans for his own offlines. We'll see if that happens. Again, cautiously optimistic, like hopeful, but it's probably not coming to be. But yeah, lots of potentially cool things, but for the most part, I'm pretty sure the ARMS scene is just going to be nestled into its own little pocket. And this is more of just the community huddling together, continuing to form healthy and strong bonds, learning to work with each other and respect each other and play together and have fun in a way that works well for everybody. And not get so up in arms about small little nitpicky details. I'm not going to make this a prediction, but I'm going to make this a goal. A goal for myself with the ARMS scene for 2020 is to make pushes to encourage a positive and healthy attitude amongst players. I understand that frustration is going to happen, but I've kind of started going this way already, and I'm probably going to continue. If I come across people who are genuinely frustrating and difficult for me to work with and just bring about a negative energy, I'm probably going to be more and more encouraged with each of those interactions to try to distance myself from them. Even if they're people that I find to be very close and important friends, I want to work with people to try to create, like, I'm not talking about, like, everybody's permanently happy. You can see by my face, I'm not generally a consistently happy person. Nobody is. And the people who say that they're always happy are liars. But I'm looking for to build a place where people can start to develop positive mental health towards competition, towards interacting with others, create a good, healthy place. You know, just let's have a good world. Let's all not be dicks. I'm still a dick in a lot of cases. Gilly can confirm this based on some interactions I've had with him. But I'm trying to be less of one. Just, let's make efforts to try... Because, like, at this point, the big thing the ARMS scene can do is to create a space. We're not looking to create a scene. We're not trying to make anything significant or dramatic or fantastical happen. We're looking to create a base where people can gather around, have fun, show off a game that we really care about and is a huge deal to us. And just, like, be a really cool environment. Like, I remember hearing about how other communities would look at the ARMS scene and be like, oh, they're the ones that hug each other after every set. Or after every match. And it's like, let's be that scene again. Let's get back to there. Let's be the people who are like, yes, ARMS! Yay, we had fun! It was intense, but we're still supporting each other and we're all doing our best to grow together as a healthy and supportive community as a family that cares about each other and wants the best for the rest of the family. Not like that angry father who's like, you'll never amount to anything, I'm the best. Less of that. Because if we don't push for this kind of stuff, and we don't create a good base, the only way for the ARM scene to consistently remain and be healthy is for it to grow to Smash level so that it's so big that toxicity can't affect it. That's not really a good way for things to go, but that would be the other alternative. So I'm just going to say it's probably a good idea for us to try to create a really strong and positive base so that when we do start to come across conflict, we're able to learn to work through it and be smart, be safe, be healthy and positive people. And we're like, this is a problem, let's find the best solutions. If we don't get the right solutions and things are still a problem, then we're like, it's still difficult, but we'll live. Rather than what happened last year. And that is my final wish for everybody for this year. Let's take care of each other. Let's support our scenes as much as we can, be it ARMS, Guilty Gear, Smash Brothers, Sailor Moon. Yep. Go support your scene. Go love the thing that you care about. Because, especially with things like these smaller games that don't get updated regularly, like, they're not going to get support. The only way they're going to get support is from the community, through the community. Maybe we'll see something come up again in the future, but to expect as such is a foolish thing. To expect patches, to assume... Like, we can be excited about the ARMS 2 or whatever happening, but to expect it, to just... Let's enjoy what we have. Let's figure out how to make what we like work as we can. And we're just gonna keep going with life.